Yo. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Alright, y'all. So, my name is Atta Mubarak, also known as Prince Gutter Ace. And in our last video, we went over an exercise to discover yourself. Exercise and the discovery of knowledge of self. And basically it goes like this. Close your eyes. Breathe in, relax. On the count of 3, we all gonna say hip hop. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And from that exercise, you learn that you can speak internally, you can hear internally, you can see internally. And by the way, that exercise is from KRS-One. Here's the thing though. What I did is I expanded it. And I said that basically those attributes that we have, those internal attributes that we have those because God gave them to us, because he gave us part of his attributes, right? He has, and so basically he has 13 attributes. 5 are of his actual self. Like we have a self, God has a self, right? But his self is not like our self. And the attributes of his self are eternal. He has no beginning. Everlasting. He has no end. He's unique in one. He's not like creation, and he exists in and of himself. He's self-subsisting. The attributes, his other attributes are that he's alive. He's all knowing. He's all hearing. He's all seeing. He has willpower. He has ability. He has a creative power, and he speaks. Right. So these last 8, he gave us those attributes. And when you do your meditation, when you go inside yourself, you realize that, damn, yeah, I am alive. So, and the way that you arrive at that realization is that we said something and we didn't use our body. We didn't use our physical instrument that we came to this earth with, which is proof that there's another aspect, another component of us that's not not of this world, that's not of the physical world, right? So, with that said, I want to introduce you guys to our Swag Universities, like our whole philosophy, our methodology, like what it's about. And basically, I'm gonna start with my story. Born in Watts, California, grew up in South Central, moved to Compton, and I grew up in Compton. What got me on this path of like wanting to know the truth, wanting to understand God, wanting to understand myself, the world, questioning like why things are the way they are, is because of all of the funerals that I had been to when I was young. So my first funeral was my great-grandfather. We called him Big Daddy. 1987. I was 3 years old, and I just remember that was my first. I just remember that funeral, like, okay, like being at his house, and then weeks later, we were burying him, and that just really, like, that was the beginning of me realize, like, that was just the beginning of my journey. So fast forward, 1992, I had a cousin named Tamika Roberts, and I remember, man, I was 7 years old, and I remember that she passed away, and my brother had a vision of her going into heaven, and that shocked me. That really, it jolted me out of like if you could say, like, going through life is kind of like a slumber, then that jolted me out of my slumber. It did something to me, because she was only 17, and she was pregnant with her baby. She was only 17, it shocked. I would say it shocked all of our family, our cousins, and everything. Then fast forward to like 1990, I want to say 95. I had one of my favorite cousins. His name was Johnny Johnny Williams, Little Johnny. And he's younger than me. He's born in 1987. I'm born in 84. And he got hit by a car, and then just the recovery from that, in the midst of recovering from that, he was diagnosed with cancer, and then he eventually died. He eventually passed away. And that really shocked me, man, because he was younger than me. And imagine his mom taking me and him and my brother to McDonald's, and her buying us candy, and her buying us gum, bubble gum, and she telling me, "Hey boy, you don't eat up don't eat up all that bubble gum in one in one whop." And that's exactly what I did. Boom. One piece of bubble gum, boom. When the flavor is out, spit that out, boom. Go into the bathroom, put the other one in, and I ate the whole stick of bubble gum, like with the Bubblicious, the pink package. So, and I remember that like yesterday. She took us to the McDonald's. We played in the ball. She got us Happy Meals. Like, she really, my auntie Peggy was really like a good auntie, man. And so imagine spending all that time with a loved one, and then all of a sudden they're no longer here, and you are walking past their casket, and that was the catalyst for me wanting to know the truth. On top of that, coming up in this society where where it's just all about, it's really fast, being exposed to everything that we exposed to in America, man. And then my family dynamics, all of that, and then Tupac died after that. Then that was just like, just damn, man, like what the hell, like, Tupac was my hero, man. I really loved Pac, so that got me on a journey. Like I would say, like from like 96 to the year 2000, I was just searching. What I was searching for, I don't know. But fast forward, we moved from LA, then we moved to a city called Wilmington, California, and then we moved from Wilmington to Compton. I didn't like Compton when we first moved there, but I grew to love Compton and everybody there. When I moved to Compton, I went to Willowbrook, got into some trouble there. Then I went to Gompers, graduated from middle school there. Boom. Then I went to Washington. Didn't really like Washington. Then went to Centennial. But while I was at Washington, that's when I started to, 9th grade, I believe I was like 13, 14. When I started to question, started to search, started to like, what is life all about? Because, everybody that I know, people that you love, they just end up dying. So my main thing was like, is there really life after death? So I left, actually got chased out of Washington, went to Centennial, and then cause they was gonna get me. I couldn't let them outnumber me. I had to bail out. You feel me? So I went to Centennial, and then met this brother, this real cool brother, who was like a mentor. And but before that, I remember us being in a circle at lunchtime, and we were just talking about like we was talking about God and the truth, and like what's the true religion. And this girl, she said something that really made a lot of sense to me. It really was like a divine voice. She said, "How do you know what religion is the truth, since there's so many of them?" And I thought to myself, damn, that is a really honest, good question, bro. Like you really have to give her that. Like, okay, like, you know, that's a really good question. So, on the way leaving out from school that day, I remember leaving out the back gate of Centennial, and it's like you leave out of the gate. It's like you walk past the blacktop, and then it's this dirt road, and it's behind the baseball field, and then you keep going, and it's the gate, and then you keep going, and then it's the canal that goes over to like the elementary school, McNair, whatever. Ooh. So I'm leaving I'm walking on this dirt road, and I'm going towards the back gate, and I just remember it was like a deep conversation inside myself, but I was talking to God, and it was like I asked him. I really just admitted, like I just no all BS aside, all ego, all making claims. I just said, you know, God, like I don't really know about Islam or Christianity. These were my exact words. I don't know about Islam or Christianity because most of my family are either Muslims or Christians. So I said, I don't really know about Islam or Christianity, but I know that you are real. I know you wake me up every day. I know you feed me. I know that my life, I'm not in control of my life, bro. Like I know that, and I know it's structured and ordered. I know that the sun rises and sets in a certain way. I know enough to know that you're in control of my life. And because of that, I'm kind of giving it all back to you. Like, I want you to show me the truth. And from there on, my life changed. Like, I started doing good in school, applied to college, graduated from high school. I started to just be able to understand any subject, any topic. It just got easy for me. And so that's basically like my story. And then the rest of my life has never been the same since then. Like I've never been able to be like what you call quote unquote normal, like, cause I see life from a different angle now. It's just, I can't act like I'm not blind, and I'm not trying to speak on people who are you know are going through their journey and where they at. I'm just trying to say like that I can't look at the world from how I used to look at it. Like I remember looking at the news, and I remember this is like in like the late 1990s, and it's the second Intifada in Palestine, and I remember that Palestinian teenagers was throwing rocks at the Israeli soldiers in the tanks, and they didn't have no weapons, they didn't have nothing, they wasn't scared, and they was throwing rocks at the tanks. And I thought to myself, like, damn, why are they doing that, bro? Like, but I really didn't even know about the world at that time. Like, so that hit me like, bro, you're ignorant, bro. Like, you don't know anything. Like, you know very little. Let me say it that way. So, and what I'm saying all this to say that humility is the way that you arrive at knowledge. What a lot of people do is that they were raised a certain way, and they just stick to how they was raised and what they was taught, even if it's wrong. Even if it's wrong, and then when they do their research, they try to do their research to reinforce what they learned as a kid or when they was growing up, even if it's wrong. So like, for example, a white family could be racist, and the father could indoctrinate his son with racist ideas, all kind of racist ideas, right? And when that boy grows up, he's going to be a racist white man, and he could either choose to stick to what his dad taught him because I love my dad, and I'm about my race, and I'm patriotic and all that, and I'm a white nationalist, whatever, right? Or he could say, man, you know what, man, I interacted with this black dude, and this black dude ain't nothing like how my dad said. So let me go and re-educate myself. Long story short, the issue with Americans is that we're not uneducated, we're miseducated. Hence, that's why I love the album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, because she's really talking about the reality of like just being an American. We have so much information, but a lot of times we're giving half truths or just the wrong information. So with that said, I want to walk you guys through the basic methodology, like the basic framework of what Sidewalk and Gutter University is about. It's about knowledge of self. So the whole goal is to arrive at a knowledge of self, and of yourself, myself, and the self has two components. There is the historical self, which is like, you know, you as a human being that's a part of a certain family, that's a part of a certain ethnic group that exists in a certain country, that have a certain lineage, you speak a certain language, you have a history, you also have a culture, all of that, all the way back to the first human beings. And that's important, like understanding like what's our original language, what's the customs and cultures of our forefathers, like, you know, where did they come from, what's our origin story. All of that is important, but what's more important is the other aspect of ourself, which is the ahistorical, which is the metaphysical part of our pre-eternal self. So the ahistorical is our self. When we did the exercise and we said hip hop, when we said 1, 2, 3, hip hop in our self, the ahistorical self is even more important, because that's who we truly are. We're spirits, we're souls, we're conscious, we're you could call it imagination, you can call it yourself, you can call it your mind, and it's all one thing. And so you have the historical self, you have the ahistorical self, right? And then the guiding questions that was guiding me when I was going through this journey, I was going through the journey of self-discovery, of searching for the truth. Those I have 5 basic questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? What is my purpose? Where am I going? And is there life after death? Is the soul immortal? Okay. Now, there's a branch of knowledge. There's a branch of philosophy called epistemology, and it's basically how do you arrive at accurate knowledge. And there's 3 basic modes of acquiring knowledge and arriving at the truth. There's empirical, rational, and revelation. Empirical knowledge, rational knowledge, and revelation. Empirical knowledge is what they call deductive reasoning. And it's basically like you use your bodily senses. You use your ears, your sight, your smell. It's basically what science is. You basically know, like, oh, we did this experiment 100 times and we got this result every time, and therefore we know that this is the truth. Like, for example, you know that the sun is going to rise tomorrow. Why? Because it's risen every single day of your life and every single day in human history, right? Before that. Or, you know, like if you put something on fire, that fire is going to burn. Why? Because of experience. You know through experience. After you do it over and over and over, you know, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen. That's the truth, right? Then you have rational knowledge, which is like arriving at the truth through your rational faculties. In other words, it's like basically saying, like, a plant is a living things need food. A plant is a living thing, and therefore plants need food, right? It's basically understanding logic and reasoning and being able to arrive at the truth through reason. Another one is like understanding, like, okay, like it's like kind of like what I did when I was leaving out of school. I said, I know for sure that I exist. I'm alive. I feel myself. I like that's not, I don't even have to prove it. I don't even have to demonstrate proofs that I exist, right? But I know that I depend on something else. I know that you depend on the sun to shine light on the plants. You depend on the photosynthesis to convert the sunlight into sugar. You depend on the bees to come and pollinate the flowers. You depend on all these different factors, right? And they all boil down to, they all boil down to one factor because when you study ecology, right, you realize that the food web, the food chain is just one chain of life. It's like the spirit of all life. Like nothing exists in and of itself. In Buddhism, they call that thusness, TUTHUSNESS. Like the fact that like everything depends on and has something else in it, like in a way, like nothing is like a pure substance. Everything is interconnected. Everything is tied together, and therefore, and that is what we call, that is God, right? That is a higher force. And then the third is revelation. And basically, revelation is like inspiration, scriptures, dreams, intuitions, premonitions. Now, here's the thing. The locus, like the locus of empirical knowledge is the body. Like you use your body to observe, you use your body to smell, you use your body to you need your physical senses to do science, right? Heat, all of that, right? Cold, temperature, speed. The locus of rational knowledge is the mind, and the locus of revelation is the heart or the soul. Okay? Each one is important, but no one is more important than the other, and each one has its jurisdiction. So you're not gonna say like, you don't need to do a science experiment to know that if it rains tomorrow, you should grab a coat and get an umbrella. Like that's common sense, you know, from experience, bro. Like stop it. Like you don't need to rationally prove it to yourself. Yeah. So inspiration, revelate. So the last one, revelation. Revelation. Throughout history, there's been human beings who have said, hey, an angel came to me, or God spoke to me directly, or I had a dream, or I had an epiphany, or I have premonitions, or I hear these voices, or whatever it is. It's knowledge directly from the spirit world. It's not from science. It's not, you're not using your mind. It's all coming to the heart. And that knowledge is real big in indigenous culture. Like you find it all throughout the world in indigenous culture. They really believe in the spirit world. They understand that it's a real thing. Now here's the thing. There was this guy. There was this Muslim scholar back in like the 1100s, I believe, or 1000s. His name was Imam Ghazali, and he was very smart. He was like one of the smartest of his time. And he basically, the way that he understood these three levels of knowledge, he said, when you look at the sun and you look at the moon, they're the same circumference, like they're the same size, right? Your mind, your body, your physical senses, your eyes tell you that the sun and the moon is the same size. But then he said, but your mind tells you that the sun is bigger and it's the same size of the moon because it's farther away, and therefore they're the same circumference. But he said, what if your mind is incorrect? What if your senses already failed you because it's saying they're the same size, but they're not the same size. The sun is not the same size as the moon, bro. But he said, what if your mind is flawed? What if your mind made a mistake? But he said, that was his proof that the heart, if you purify it, if you clean it, and you direct it in the right way, the heart doesn't lie, right? So, and like I said, the heart, like from our exercise that we did, on our first episode, the heart can see, the heart is alive, the heart has power, the heart is creative. I'm talking about the mind, the heart, the soul, are conscious. Okay. So those are the three branches of epistemology. Questions: who am I? Where do I come from? What is my purpose? Where am I going? And is there afterlife? Then my guiding principles was that I never assume that I know something, even if I think I know it, I never assume it. I always just like do my research. I always double check. I'll cross reference. I never just assume that I know something. 2, I always do research and cross reference facts. I always like those kind of like go hand in hand. 3 is if 2 or more unrelated people or sources agree on a certain fact, then it's more likely that it's true. Like for example, when you go around the world and you study indigenous people, you study like the creation stories, or you study the ethnology of indigenous people, you find overwhelmingly that all indigenous people believe in what we call God, in one God. They're not polytheists, they're not pagans, they're not savages, they're not heathens. They're highly civilized people, and they believe in the spirit. They believe in the great spirit, the great mystery. They call them different names. Atnatu in Australia, Unkulunkulu in Africa, Wakantanka in Native America. But they believe in God. They believe that God communicates to human beings, and they believe that his guidance, the people should follow his guidance. And this is outside of the Abrahamic religion. So it's funny because when people say, well, they created religion just to control people. Okay, well, what about Native Americans who believe in God? How does that argument stand when you look at people who don't have any connection to any of the Abrahamic faiths, but they believe similar to what's said in the Bible? Right? Okay. Then in my whole journey, I realized that you're not gonna arriving at the truth, arriving at knowledge of who you are. One, it's a lifelong, infinite journey, and it's multidisciplinary. So one, you're not gonna arrive at it by reading no one book or listening to no one lecture or just going off of what your friend told you or what you saw on TikTok or social media. It's not like that. It's a life journey. And 2, it's multidisciplinary. So it's genetics, it's linguistics, it's archaeology, it's geology, it's math, it's mythology, it's comparative religious studies, it's chemistry, biology, physics, astronomy. It's everything, bro. It's not just one thing. And that's why people give up, because it's like, oh, I read this book, and people want to make up that, like for example, okay, look, man, if you wanted to be anything great, you would never expect to get it in like a week or a month or a year. I want a PhD. And you would never give up. Like, oh, I took this class, but you would just understand that, hey man, this is a long-term process. I'm gonna trust the process. In 8 to 10 years, I'm gonna get my PhD. Or in 5 to 7 years, I'm gonna be the biggest rap star or the biggest musician in the world. Or in 7 to 10 years, I'm gonna be the most successful businessman. Great things take time. So what's greater than knowledge of self, knowledge of knowledge of the truth, and knowledge of God? So the fact that people don't give it that time and attention is just like excuse my language, you bullshitting, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, come on, be real with yourself. Like, that's all. Not to come down or be all super aggressive, but I'm just saying, like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta put in the time, put in the sacrifice. If you really want it, you can have it. So that leads me to Swag University, the class creed. So like, I mapped out a class creed. You know how schools have like their class creed? I mean, map one out for Swag University, Sidewalk and Gutter. First off, let me go back here. Excuse me. Let me go find this one. Let me find you the whole motivation behind even starting Swag University. I have it, bro. Come on. Oh, yeah, here it is. So the whole motivation behind starting Swag University, because I saw like, man, I'm from the hood. I grew up in the hood. I'm from Compton. I grew up around gang violence and drugs and prostitution, and it's like me. I don't want to just repeat the same cycle. I want to have what's the exit plan? Like, there has to be a solution to like suffering on earth, bro. There has to be a path towards world peace. And that's what this is all about. But you cannot have peace in the world until you have peace in yourself. So this is what I wrote in my journal. Release an idea into the universe, plant an idea in the minds of the masses, and watch it grow. What does Sidewalk University mean? It's a culmination of street knowledge. It's primarily black men graduating the streets, adopting a new identity, not rooted in a criminal lifestyle. Why black men? Because black men, we're cultural leaders. We have a big voice. People follow us. It's just that simple. If we change, the whole world will change. According to the 13th Amendment, crime is a legitimate pretext to enslave someone. So the 13th Amendment, they wrote it after the Civil War when they abolished slavery. They wrote it to abolish slavery, but it's kind of like, it's a caveat in it because it doesn't unequivocally abolish slavery. It allows for slavery under certain conditions. And it says, verbatim, it says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist in the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Congress shall have the authority to enforce this law, right? So what that means, and they write in this cryptic language that's super complicated that nobody talks like that. But what it means is basically slavery is going to be illegal except if a person commits a crime and they're convicted in a court of law. That's what that means. So forced labor, the chain gang. And so what happened is like, imagine I'm a plantation owner. I got 200 slaves. We just lost the Civil War. I have to give up my slaves. I'm losing all my property, all my bread, right? So what did all of these former slave masters do? They got together and they said, well, we're gonna give these former slaves two options. They can stay on the plantation and become sharecroppers. We can give them loans, and that puts them in another form of it's like a step away from slavery. They could become sharecroppers, they'll be tied to us forever because they don't have any property, and we're going to give them a loan on interest that they're never going to be able to pay back. That's option one. Option two is that when a slave leaves, they have no job, they have no home, and they created what's called vagrant laws. Vagrant laws vagrancy is basically when you don't have a house, when you're homeless and you're jobless and you're just wandering around, you're a vagrant. So basically, they made people guilty for just leaving slavery, and then they put them in chain gangs, and they got their labor that way. And there's this book called Slavery by Another Name, and that book says that the book says that Andrew Carnegie, the founder of U.S. Steel, he was the biggest steel magnate in like the early 1900s, the richest man in the world. He used a company that used slave chain gang labor, so it was a real thing. Like they really used it. So all of that, what does that mean? I'm saying all that to say, fast forward to 2024, and we still have a school to prison pipeline. Like they know that if by third grade, based on how the grades are, is an indication of whether this individual is going to be a criminal or not. And it's basically like now as black men, we basically like have a it's sad, but we have a culture of like, nigga, you ain't shit, nigga, you ain't hard if you're not a thug, if you're not a gangbanger, if you're not and I grew up around that, and I saw the reality of it. And it's weird because we have people coming from like out of state and they want to be gangbangers, and they want to film videos in LA and in Compton. It's like, bro, y'all are, stop it, bro. Like, it's like why perpetuate something that's destructive and that's a dead end road. You know what I'm saying? It's like the system is designed to make us be a criminal. The criminal identity is how they capitalize off of us, our labor and everything, bro. And then fast forward, prisons are privately owned corporations. Like there's privately owned corporations that own stocks in prison. They're traded on the stock market. It's like haven't we gotten smart of the game, bro? It's like it's a game, dude, and they winning. They beating us. So that's what this is all about. So I said, according to the 13th Amendment, crime is a legitimate pretext to enslave someone. That someone being a convicted criminal and a criminal is a slave. can be enslaved and enforced to involuntary servitude. This includes the criminal being stripped of basic fundamental civil rights. And so that's kind of where we are. Simultaneous with that is that while we have these structural forces that's working against us, it's like black and Mexican people, black and brown people have suffered the brunt of like European expansionism. Basically, white people went around the world and conquered and took resources and also stripped people of their culture and their languages and their traditions. So the only way that we coping is that we create these makeshift tribes that we call gangs. And because we don't have knowledge of self, and because of the system that we in, the environment, the society, these gangs are dysfunctional and unhealthy. So the cultures are, even though it's some good aspects to them, on the most part, it's a dead end road gang life is a dead end road. So what I said is like, if gangs are tribes, what usually happens is when in the course of nation building, tribes make up nations, and there's been instances in history where there's been wars fought for 30 years between England and France, or 100 year wars. And basically what I'm saying is that if Europe was at each other, if all the European countries were at each other's necks, and like the Middle Ages, the medieval period was like probably the most violent, they called it the Dark Ages. It was the most violent, the most barbaric period in European history, right? And if they were able to come up out of their savagery and their barbarism, so can the black man in America. And basically the whole idea is gangs have to become community organizations, cultural centers, neighborhood councils, but we need a new set of values and principles, and that's where knowledge of self comes in. So our class creed. Let me find that. Yeah. The class creed is: God is one, thug life is dead, the universe and humanity is one. There will never be a time like this in hip hop, in American history, or in world history. This is the culmination. We are fulfilling the mission statement of hip hop. The chosen ones prophesied for destiny. It used to be about niggas and bitches, power and money, riders and punks. Now it's about good and evil, God or the devil, heaven and hell. Peace, love, unity, having fun, knowledge of self. The hood is not in you, the hood is you. You make the hood don't make you. Every hood is a tribe. Many tribes make up a nation, one nation under God. Let not one tribe be greater than the nation. Hip hop is our voice, our platform to make the world a better place. What we do, the whole world follows. And that's basically it. That's basically Sidewalk University in a nutshell. Like basically the whole idea is what Jesus, peace be upon him, said: you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. That's it. And the truth is inside of you, dog. So with that said, I want to wish y'all love and blessings. Peace out, y'all.